with class, fantastic demeanor, and a wine glass filled to the brim. What you're going to hear is the finest in urban conservative talk. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the brand new Willie Lawson Show here on the Exceptional Conservative Network. All right, welcome to the Willie Lawson Show here on TECN, powered by SHR Media and the great folks at High Plains Talk Radio. It is going to be a fabulous show today because of all the things that are continuing to happen. Around the world, people always wonder, well, how do these protests get organized? Oh, they must, guess what? George Soros is not sending emails out to everybody. They're not. There's no secret cable station way above the 1000s that this information is coming out. Where to meet, how to meet. A lot of it's being organized by social media, and I think that. What the current president has done, probably even more so than Barack Obama, was master and grab social media by the cojones and use it. Whether you think it's using it for the good or the bad, it seems like social media was the way to get directly to the folks. So I am blessed and honored to have somebody who has been in media for a long time, who's written some books and been in media for a long time, and understands this phenomenon as well or better than most people do. John Daly, who has done the whole what we now call legacy media, it's on television, it's on radio, and he is now really well versed in social media. I was going to come in, and we're going to talk about what the new thing is in social media, because it's always the new thing. Y'all remember when MySpace was the thing? Y'all, when I talk to my students, my private saxophone students, about MySpace, their eyes glaze over like I'm talking about a dial telephone. Like, what are you talking about? Because they don't know. Most of my private students are 15 and 16. They don't have any earthly idea. And MySpace, I think, came and went before a lot of people really understood how all that worked at all. So my guest is going to sort of he's going to take out his Ouija board and his crystal ball and give us an idea of what's coming next. And I think that's really very important. What is next? All right, so let me go ahead and get started. Again, John Daly is our guest, and welcome to the Willie Lawson Show here on TECN, powered by SHR and syndicated by our great friends at High Plains Talk Radio. We're going to bring John on as soon as I click the button, and hopefully by clicking the button, I won't actually bring the internet down. I've done that. I have done that before. I clicked the unmute button and brought down the entire East Coast of the internet and Western Europe. So they never. But you know what? There's no videotape of it, so they can connect it to me. Anyway, so we're gonna try that. All right, on our Bloomingdale's Flower Shop Newsmaker line is our new friend John Daly. Welcome to the Willie Lawson Show, and good morning. Thank you for getting up at dark 30 and being with us today.
Willie, thanks for having me on. Congrats on your show and also on your efforts. And from what I can tell, the lights are still on here, so I don't think you killed the East Coast as far as electricity goes.
Well, at least, I don't have any access to the power grid, but the all those internet switchers, I clicked a button and brought the whole thing to its knees. And you see it on the news and go, Facebook was down for an hour.
Yeah.
Wonder how that happened.
Yeah.
All right.
It shows how vulnerable we are. That's for sure.
I think so too. So, John, give my listeners a little thumbnail sketch on your background in media in general.
Well, I mean, it actually started back when I was in high school. I was a newspaper reporter even while I was in high school, and from there ended up working for a couple of newspapers in Connecticut. Eventually went on to doing television. I actually took a course at Columbia University that makes print journalists, broadcast journalists. This is back in the 1980s. Eventually worked my way up from being a reporter, investigative reporter, to a news anchor and a managing editor. Was at a number of different stations, and then I got I got a chance to do national TV. So I did one of the first reality shows, which was really a video news magazine show called Real TV. It was one of the first reality shows that was out there. This was in the middle of the 1990s, and I did that for 4 years. And then, and we were groundbreaking as far as using home videos to tell stories, surveillance videos, cop videos, stuff like that. And then from there, I ended up kind of being more of an entrepreneur, going out and starting my own businesses, starting my own franchises and ideas. I wrote a book on the media and media bias, and then I've just been working on my product, which is kind of called Informed, Not Inflamed. I'm about ready to write a new book on this. And so I've tried to be a little bit out front in being kind of groundbreaking on what's going on, trying to get out in front of the technology like I did on Real TV, the fact that camcorders were coming out in the 1990s. Wow, there was all this video here. How do you use that? Same thing now with what's going on in really technology today, and trying to figure out how it fits into the media. One of the things we're finding is that a lot of the media is having a difficult time making money because they just haven't figured out what the new payment model is, because advertising just isn't working the way it used to. So there's problems there with that, and then there's certainly a lot of other problems that are facing our country and the world that really the media is not addressing, because I don't think the media is they haven't figured out their model yet and how to help us find those solutions.
Well, that's a whole bunch. That's a whole bunch, because even people like myself and Ken McClinton of TECN and all these other entities, the big struggle with all of us is how do we take what we were able to do technology-wise and find a model that works to monetize it. So first of all, you can continue to do it. And it's interesting that now technology is sort of put not only the entrepreneur out here, the the ham bone operator like myself, in a similar position as the large companies. How do we take all these tools now that we have? It's like we went to Sears and Roebuck and we bought every single tool in the hardware department. Now how can we make all this work for our benefit now that our credit card is all maxed out? How can we make all this work to our benefit? That will be that's an interesting conversation. What I'd like to talk about for a little bit is, of course, as all the things that are happening, all the things that we're seeing on TV, even some of the switches. Megyn Kelly has gone to NBC. Greta Van Susteren has gone to MSNBC/NBC. And before all that, there was all this talk about media bias, and that has led the discussion. And frankly, what we do here is sort of a benefit of people's thought that media is biased one way or the other, and there needs to be alternatives. You wrote a book on media bias. What's your view on this whole concept of media bias?
Well, I do think the media is biased, but I always tell people get over it, because what you're getting is you're getting a lot of different voices out there. So what we were so used to back in the 60s, 70s, and maybe even the 80s was we had one or two places to go to, and we just kind of relied on them. You're going to give us the whole story. And what has happened is a lot of people say, well, you're really not giving us the whole story. We need something more. And so as a result of, you started seeing the explosion of, let's say, talk radio. You started seeing the explosion of Fox News. You started seeing a lot of, liberal and conservative sites going on that are happening around. They're happening all over the place. So I always try to tell people, don't get so upset about media bias get more upset about the fact that you've got to find a way yourself to be the most important journalist in your life. And that's one of the things I try to teach in that book. That's exactly what I was trying to do. I was trying to find a simple system so people could see different things and see what's going on out there. I think part of the thing when I hear a lot of people scream about the media being biased, what they're really, I think, upset about is they think that the media has this responsibility to cover everything. And I think overall we think that. And the reality is it's difficult to do with so much going on. The other thing is a lot of these companies are for-profit companies. And like we were mentioning before, they're having a hard time really making money. And a lot of times the way they have to make money is they've got to go to a different type bias. I think the liberal and the conservative bias, the right-left, the Democratic-Republican, yeah, it's there. I don't think it's the most important one. I think the biggest bias that the media has is what I call the entertainment and the sports bias. So what they do is they take every issue and they put it into an entertainment motif, so to speak. They take it, it's an antagonist versus a protagonist, or a sports one, where it's this team against the other team. And what happens is that we whittle down an issue to this versus this, but we miss the issue. We're not getting the issue. So we're missing a lot of different things that are happening. For instance, conservatives, they want massive tax cuts as a solution. Well, we go up, we talk about this. What we miss on that is that without tax reform and entitlement reform, tax cuts don't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's only going to make the rich richer. It's only going to create more income inequality. Liberals want free college education. Well, without a free market solution, working with companies that will create jobs, all we're going to be doing is throwing money away. You look at healthcare. Both sides are absolutely clueless on how to bring about healthcare for everybody so that the costs drop, access to everyone. And so my big problem with the media today is that they're taking political sides. One way on both sides. And I don't think we're getting to the real solution. So I've actually started introducing stuff on my columns called solutions-based news, so that we actually start looking at what the issues are. And we're beginning to see the breakdown of, what left and right means, or what liberal and conservative means, because, we saw Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump actually agreeing on issues, and yet they come from two different ends of the political spectrum. We're also seeing that the world is changing drastically, and we're changing drastically for two reasons. The first is we have an aging population, and that is changing the way we work. It's changing the way we redistribute money. The amount of people who are going to be on Medicare, and that's including myself very soon, is going to be huge. It's going to weigh down the poor people who are going to be working for us. So that's causing a lot of problems, and we haven't addressed that yet. The other thing we haven't addressed is how great technology is, but also how bad it does as far as creating jobs or creating better salaries. So as a result of that, we're not looking at the two core solutions, and nobody in the media is looking at, nobody in politics is looking at that. They're just coming up with political ideas that are kind of, fanning the flames of people's sports and entertainment bias that's going on. So as a result of it, I think we're missing the boat on so much, and that's where I really chastise the media, where I think they've lost us, is that it's not the liberal versus the conservative. It's the fact that they just give us something that's entertaining, or they fan the flames of emotions rather than turning on the light of education.
So what we've done is that we have denigrated to the Mad Magazine spy versus spy model of how we approach everything. There's always there's always a good guy and there's always a bad guy. And I had thought that the sports analogy worked great because that's kind of always what it is. So it doesn't matter. Like in this particular instance, we're talking about the so-called travel ban that's going on right now. It doesn't matter that some of these very same nations or some of these very same countries were picked out by the previous administrations as being some immigration entities that we should look at. It doesn't matter. It's my guy good, your guy bad, even if they say the very same things. You know?
No, it's absolutely true. And as a result of it, and one of the things that I will take odds with the Trump administration is they didn't explain it, because what you just explained right there makes so much more sense. And they just did a blanket, here we're going to do this, and as a result of it, it caused a lot of angst with a lot of people. So, it's different to campaign and it's different to govern. And when you're not sitting down and explaining to people, here's why I'm doing this. It's just, I signed this thing and it's a blanket thing. So, and as a result of it, you're right. All it's doing is fanning one side against the other.
Yeah, I don't think it didn't seem to me it would have been that big a deal to get a little TV time and go, you know what? We've picked these countries, and this is why we picked these countries, because Barack Obama picked these countries, and we think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Can you imagine that some of the people who like to fan the flames, how deflated they would have been? Because wait a minute, did he just say that the previous administration picked these countries, and he thinks this is a good idea to start here? Did he really just say that? Yeah.
Yeah. On the other hand, too,
put away your pitchforks, Billy.
Well, and this is the one thing I always say to people is always acknowledge the other side. And there are other sides. I mean, a lot of people pointed out that the countries that they didn't pick all seem to have Trump properties in them. Okay, but at the same time too, we've seen those countries taking control of trying to make sure that there aren't terrorists coming from those countries, and they haven't recently been. Granted, they were 9/11. If you look at the 9/11 attackers, they all came from Saudi Arabia. Why aren't you putting Saudi Arabia in it? Okay, well that's fine. But the ones that they're picking, and you're right, the ones that Barack Obama also picked were ones that were in the midst of the new civil wars, and things were changing. So if that was explained correctly, and to be honest with you, the policy itself really isn't as horrible as a lot of people or opponents of Trump are making it out to be. What was really horrible was the execution of it. And by not having
nightmarish
government officials, Border Patrol, people at Customs ready for this, that caused a lot of problems, which just fanned the flames even further. So
makes for great TV, though, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Look,
Absolutely.
There's people and screaming and crying. Makes for great TV.
And again, that's the entertainment bias you're talking about.
Yeah, and is other than this program, which is of course completely non-entertaining, is there a way out? Is there a way out of it? Do you see that some of the people who have decided to do what we're doing here on TECN, is there a way out of it? Is there a way to sort of wean people off the sports and entertainment model that legacy media has put forth, or is this just going to be our way forward forever?
It could go both ways. I mean, a lot of studies are showing that most people are not going to move from their biases, even if they are shown evidence that knocks down their views. And this is on the left and the right. So as a result, we're going to get the media outlets that are going to cater to certain political views, and they're going to fan them. And one of the reasons, because the majority of us want to be comfortable in our own beliefs no matter what. So I mean, it's just proven that you can show somebody evidence of something, and they're going to reject it. They're just not going to look at it. I've had so many people who I said, "Oh, well, take a look at this article," and then they've taken the phone and thrown it down. Yeah, who are they bought by? Well, obviously it didn't sit well with what they believe. I think it starts with the individual, and one of the things that I'm trying to bring across is that we've got to start acting more journalistically, or we've got to start acting the way we wanted our journalists to act. So, for instance, when many people go online, and they can be moral, upstanding, Christian-loving people, but when they get online, that goes out the door, and they post whatever they think. I mean, there's certain things that I've got a pretty snarky personality, and and I see certain things. I'm going to say something. Now, I might say it to my wife, I might say it to my best friends, but I'm not going to put it on social media because it will come across in a denigrating way. But a lot of people do that, And a lot of people, kind of tend towards this entertainment bias themselves. And at the same time, too, they want to back their side. So what I'm trying to do to people is just, when you're going to post something, think about it first. Is it sourced? In other words, is it more than just one person saying this? Are there some sources of what I would call credible news organizations that are saying this? If for some reason it's something that maybe might be a little questionable, and you still want to post it, well, post on there, this is questionable. Can you give me, what do you guys think of this? Or can somebody else give me help? Create more of a community rather than standing on principle. And what I've found over my years as a journalist and doing massive research is the more I research, the more I realize how much I don't know. And it makes me pause a little bit to just kind of, okay, well, wait a minute, there's something else here. Or, okay, someone's feeling, why are they feeling that way? So I'm hoping that people kind of step back and do this. One of the things I talk about is read books. If you read really good nonfiction, and it's well-researched, and it's by experts that don't have an axe to grind one way or another, you find yourself listening more. And I think that the bad thing about social media is that it has given us too much of a platform, and it gives too many people who are either angry or who are uninformed or who have a political or profit motive to get out there. So I always try to tell people, think of the journalists that you want, because technically social media is media. And we all need to start acting like journalists. Tom Friedman, in his new book called Thank You for Being Late, explores the thing that, is God on the internet? And there's a lot of people, no, it isn't. I mean, they just, people just kind of abandon what they think are moral principles when they get on there. And, I see a lot of people, and this is unfair towards Christian evangelicals, not all of them, but people who, tout themselves as Christian evangelicals and then talk about wanting to kill somebody or get rid of that person or something like that, and you kind of go, that's not what you seem to purport. So I think it starts with the individual, and I think I think where you've got to compliment Donald Trump is that he hit the grassroots. I mean, he hit those people who were not being paid attention to. And I think all of us have to start doing that. I think we got to start talking to people who are on social media and saying, hey, you know what, you don't need to be doing that, or do it this way, or consider this. But we need to do it in a way where we're kinder. We're in a community together. So even though I can't see you when I'm posting on social media, I should try to see you when I'm thinking about what I'm going to post.
It's interesting that you mentioned that people don't normally change their viewpoints regardless. A number of years ago, I was running for a local office, and we had a petition table out, and this lady came up to me and asked us, what we were doing, and I went through the whole thing. And it happened to be that we had grown up in the same neighborhood, not just the same neighborhood, on the same street. Her family actually would have lived across the street. She was younger than I am, across the street from where our house was. We talked about the neighborhood. We talked about the things that have happened and how things have gone down. We talked about the whole thing and agreed on every single solitary point. She was my new best friend, right? Mm-hmm. And as she's signing my petition, she saw that I was running as a Republican and just couldn't sign it. She just couldn't do it. She just couldn't, because that would have blown up her political world. It would have blown it up, because it's like, how can I be in such agreement with this person that I have learned that everything that the R represents, I don't. She just couldn't do it. She just couldn't do it. Which was it was heartbreaking for me.
And the irony of that is that really what we perceive Republicans and Democrats to be on a national level, if you really look at their platforms, both of them are very hypocritical, and they contradict each other. What's beginning to happen is you're going to start seeing federal government giving more back to the states. The states are going to have more control, and the states are going to have the towns give more control. I actually think this is really good. I know a lot of people are like, oh, no, we can't do states' rights. That's a term for racism, or, you know, you're going to turn it back to the locals. I think what's going to happen is you're going to start seeing locals become a lot more inclusive, because when you're dealing with an issue in a town or a city, you got to see those people face to face. You're going to vote those people in and out. So I think what you're going to see is what we term as Republicans or Democrats or liberals and conservatives. That definition is going to go out the door once it gets on a state and local level, because you're going to start seeing people really work towards solutions, because they've got to face everybody. On a national level, the politicians who are getting into office, they're getting in office because of how much money they raise. You've got elections that are set up so that it's a primary for one party, a primary for another party. If we really wanted to make it fair so we get more voices, you would just have a primary. Everybody's in the primary. You know, and the top three then move on, or the top two then move on, or whatever. And that way people would have more voice rather than, okay, I've got to run as a Republican or I got to run as a Democrat. And when you run as a Republican or a Democrat, especially on a national level, you got so many conflicts that are going on that you've got to kind of wade through, rather than being yourself and, hey, here are the solutions. So I think that's changing. And as much as everything is so strange now, and we are going through a massive upheaval, it's almost like an earthquake. It's still shaking. I do think this is all turning out to be good, and I do think people are going to start finding a new way of doing things, because, you know, the old way it's just the old way, and you can't change demographics and you can't change technology.
Yeah, I think you have a point. I think that the national election should first be we should go ahead and go full hog on the sports model. Maybe start off with bowling, and then work our way up to the general election should be full one-on-one, full court basketball for the president.
Nice.
I think.
I like it.
And you know what? And people going, I play one-on-one. No, most of us play one-on-one half court. Nobody plays one-on-one full court. Nobody does. But I think that
better have some endurance.
Yes, I think that should be, and you got to win by 2. There you go. So now we fixed that.
Nice.
John, what do you think is the next thing in social media that we should be looking for? You know what? Once Grandma got on Facebook, all the kids left Facebook. Once Dad got on Twitter, all his kids got off Twitter, and now parents are going, "What's the Snapchat thing? I like this Snapchat thing." What's the next great thing you see, or the next big thing that you see in social media? Because that's kind of where people like me need to focus our attention to get out what we're doing. So what's the next great thing you see in social media?
I think you're going to start seeing more community-based. I think you're going to start seeing more people coming together in different communities. For instance, a condo complex may have their own website, social media, where they communicate with each other. It may just be someone who is, got a certain issue that they want to tout, and they're going to get people from all over the world that live in different geographic areas who are going to be with them. As far as the technology goes, I think what is going to happen is it's just going to allow us to be more visually connected. So in other words, when it's going to be Skype on steroids. That's probably the best way to describe it. So you're actually going to see people there. My thing is what I think might happen, and I talked to a guy who's a PhD out of the military, and I talked to him, it had to be about 10, 15 years ago, and he said he thinks and what he predicted for the technology, he said that the nation states as we know it are going to be superfluous. We're not going to need them. People are going to be band together in their communities, especially as the technology gets even more powerful. Now, the problem with that is that, you're going to have, rogue actors, the accusations of Russia and different states that are going to be able to take over different things. So, you may start seeing a lot of anarchy there. We really don't know what's going to happen. And we don't know what the next iteration is really going to be. People start changing their views. I tell people, I wrote this whole book on the media and media bias, and Twitter and Facebook weren't even around when I first wrote it. And like, oh my God, look at the changes that have happened since then. Look what it's done. So, for instance, I mean, one of the things that I try to show people is how you can be your own news person just by using Twitter. I set up my Twitter feed where I just have news sources coming in. So when the Paris attacks happened last year or the year before last, in late November 2015, those massive attacks that were going on, I literally was aggregating different news, including information from the State Department for people. And I did it for like 3 or 4 hours, just kind of following it, watching TV, and just aggregating the stuff that was, from Sky News, from the Wall Street Journal, from the New York Times, incredible sources. And so I did about 3 or 4 hours while watching it, and I had so many people who wrote to me and said, thank you, I followed you. I had a child over in Paris, and until I found out they were safe, I continued to follow you. Thank you for all the information. So I think, all of us can start being more helpful and caring and loving towards everybody using social media. Right now, it's just kind of like, hey, I get to stand up on the platform and do this. As far as with the technology is only going to get better. It's going to give us a chance to be more in touch with more people. It's also going to give us a chance to be more stuck in our computers and our cell phones as opposed to talking to somebody. So I think what we've got to find is that difference there where we're still talking to people. Part of the thing of why Donald Trump won was because people weren't paying attention to the people who were talking. I was in Ohio, do a lot of work in Ohio, and I never saw a Hillary sign on any of the front lawns. All I saw were Trump signs. And I remember saying, I know my head's telling me it's going to be Hillary, but my gut's telling me it's going to be Trump, and I was right. And people were not paying attention because they had their heads stuck in their computers or their iPhones. They weren't talking to people. And I think we're going to start seeing the next iteration is that where the computer and the cell phone is going to allow us to talk directly more to people instead of being just so insulated into ourselves.
You know what? And here in Florida, we saw the very same thing. Now, we were being told by the experts, and you're right. My head was saying, you know what? It just doesn't seem possible that Trump could win this presidency. I mean, even way out. But we started seeing the very same thing. We're driving down where I live, because I still live in the hood. I have not moved to the gated community with all the other sedity black people. I still live in the hood, and where I saw Barack Obama signs just everywhere. We didn't see any Hillary Clinton signs anywhere. We didn't see any. People kept asking me, so what's the buzz for Hillary Clinton? Well, there isn't any here, because people aren't talking about it. And the Clinton people aren't coming to these places and talking about Hillary Clinton. They're not. Even Trump people were braving into the hood to talk about Donald Trump, which I think made a huge difference in 13% of black males voting for Donald Trump. But that's just me. What do I know? I'm just a guy who pays attention. So, I don't have any other initials after my name other than J.R. So I'm just a guy who pays attention. And you're absolutely right. We need to start actually talking to folks, and if you can talk to folks, that makes a huge difference. I think Trump made a great play in using Twitter because that circumvented the filters and the gatekeepers, and was able to talk, and basically using technology, talk directly to people who wanted to hear what he had to say. And by using his own Twitter handle, it sort of makes you feel like you're actually talking to the person. So it's interesting how things are going to go moving forward. So, John, we've got about a minute. Tell us what the next thing is for you and how we can all participate, how we can all sort of stalk from afar what you're doing.
Well, one of the things I'm doing is I've got my own TV show online. I've got a co-host and my business partner, Susan Anzalone, and we've created a show called Undercover Jet Setter. And it is a travel, food, wine, and golf show. But again, I get to talk a lot about politics. I get a lot to talk about media. And what we've done is we've created this show where we shoot, edit, and deliver it all off the iPhone. So we also teach people how to do their own videos, whether it be their own travel videos or to create their own news site or to create their own news organization, and they can do it with just an iPhone, and how easy it is. So if you go to undercoverjetsetter.com, you can see the different things that we're doing there, and it also shows you all the shows we've done. We've actually done 40 shows off the iPhone, 40 complete 30-minute shows. So that's where technology is changing, and I chose that venue because I didn't want. Okay, I'm still a news guy, but all of us have to be news people, even when we're doing other jobs. So by me doing a travel, food, and wine show, I'm still being a news person.
That's travel, news, wine, and golf.
Yes, that's because I play golf. That's why.
and I think that sounds wonderful, and I can't wait to watch. However, so how many brothers you got on the show on a weekly basis? Just asking.
That watch the show?
Yeah, a lot, I'm guessing, because you know what? If we ever get into golf like we got into hockey, y'all gonna have to watch out. That's all there is to it. Black people playing hockey. White people all over Minnesota are like, are they playing hockey now? When did they start playing hockey? It's going to be good times in the hood. It really is. John,
yeah, we haven't broken down the brother demographic yet. Huh? So.
All right. Well, John, thank you ever so much for coming on and spending some time with me. I hope that we can hook up later. As this crazy cuckoo thing as the Trump administration is going to be, and how everyone is reacting around it. Maybe in a year or so things will be a little different. No, things are going to be a lot different in a year or so. Who am I kidding? Thank you again for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
Willie, thanks for having me.
It has been my honor, and hopefully again we can hook up again soon. All right, anytime. Folks, that's John. We got to take a little break. We'll be back with more of the Will Watson Show here on TECN right after these messages. Innovation, inspiration, and imagination. Thanks, man. Really appreciate you. Characteristics that are important in any business, but especially in real estate when you're looking for your forever home. And when that home is a new home, there are very, very many things that must go right. The financing must be on point. The furnishings must be on point. The location and neighborhood must be on point. And if you need someone to get that right the first time, you have to go to my friend Gary Knight at New Homes of Tampa Bay. That's New Homes of Tampa Bay. You can reach him on the web at www.newhomestpa.com. If you're looking for innovation through technology, inspiration and imagination through hard work, www.newhomestpa.com. There's no reason to wait for a special occasion to send flowers. No reason to wait until you miss a birthday or an anniversary or Valentine's Day to send flowers. All you have to do is get a hold of my friend Christine at Bloomingdale's Flower Shop, www.bloomingdays.com. That's www.bloomingdays.com. And tell her that you want to send the very best, that you care enough to send the very best. One of FTD's top florists in all of the United States, always in the top 100 of flower shops in the United States. That's Bloomingdale's Flower Shop, www.bloomingdays.com. Forget calling 1-800-something, www.bloomingdays.com. It's great to have partners, but it's even better when one of your partners is one of the finest urban conservatives in America. That's my friend Kevin Batts. Kevin Batts of Red River Chronicle TV. Red River Chronicle TV is taking the internet by storm. With fabulous production, amazing commentary, and incredible insight, Red River TV is the thing that we'll all be watching in 2017. They are the people, Kevin and his wife Janelle, are the voices that are going to make the difference in urban America in 2017. So get in on the ground floor. Go to www.redriverchronicle.com and subscribe to Red River TV today. All right, that was John Daly, informednotinflamed.com. You can start there. And again, I will put up on the Willie Lawson Show Facebook page links to his travel, wine, golf YouTube show. So we'll be able to. So you'll have access to all of that as well. I like to thank John for coming on. He's our first guest here on this iteration of the Will Lawson Show here on the Exceptional Conservative Network, and there will be more. We are talking to Brandon Darby. We're talking to Sonny Johnson. We're talking to some other great folks that I think that you need to hear. And that's all going to start happening next month, which is in just a couple of days. Can you imagine that it's already January 30th, 2017? We were all just looking forward to the election being over. Don't you feel like we were all just looking forward to the damn election being over? And now it's January. We've got the election over. We got through Thanksgiving. We got through Christmas. We got through New Year's. We got through the inauguration. And now is the 30th, the first month. Truly 1/12 of the entire year of 2017 is dang near over. Wow. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. But you know, that's how things roll. That's how we do things. All right. I have a few minutes, and I have got to get. I'm sorry. I have got to get to the band. You know, John and I were talking about the band, and how people are losing their mind, or seem to be losing their mind. These are the countries that have not been banned, but there's been a travel restriction from, are not countries that Donald Trump and Steve Bannon went into the dark recesses of the White House, like on Scandal, and thought these countries up. That's not what's happening, and that's what and you know what, and that's the line that I guess is left to you and I. That's not what happened. That is not what's happening. So when, again, the sports and entertainment media that's pretending to be news is ginning this up, what we didn't get to is that nobody is telling the truth. That's the problem. Nobody is telling the truth. The truth is that these countries are the countries that Barack Obama thought would be countries to maybe restrict travel to and from, because what did we see? We saw, and we continue to see, we saw people leaving the U.S., people who had come to the U.S., maybe got green cards or whatever, and then go back to some of these very same countries, get all trained up, come here and do what? Wreak havoc. That's what we've seen. That's exactly what we saw, and those countries were picked by the previous administration, and aren't even the countries that have the highest number of Muslims. During the hostage crisis, Jimmy Carter banned Iranians and Shiite Muslims from entering the U.S. and had the FBI reevaluate those within our borders, and then deported Shiite and Iranian students. Nobody called them a racist. This is not the first time, folks. This is not the first time that any of this has happened. The United States has, over time, decided who could come in and who couldn't come in because it is her right to do so. It is her right to do so. So this other thing is absolutely insane. And let's see if I can get these countries: Syria, Iraq, Iran, Yemen, Sudan, and Libya. So this is the deal, that everything else, all these other things are nonsense. It's just nonsense. And it doesn't take, it's funny, John mentioned doing some research on your own. It doesn't really take much research. Now, research is not reading Facebook memes. That's not research. It doesn't take much to go back and find out if this is the first time this has ever happened. Which ought to be your first question. That's the deal. That ought to be your first question. Your first question is this the first time something like this has ever happened? Is Donald Trump the first guy ever to ban folks from coming from Muslim countries? And what you'll find out is no. And then your second question is, should be, is this the who were the people who did this before? Okay, I got all 7 countries here. I was trying to look up the 7 countries. The 7 countries that have the highest Muslim populations that were not, quote, banned are Indonesia, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Nigeria, Turkey, and Egypt. There is a temporary ban from people from Iran, which is the same temporary ban that Jimmy Carter put into place. Same sort of thing, except it doesn't single out Shiite Muslims. So there is no Muslim ban. There is no Muslim ban. When somebody tells you that Trump is banning Muslims from coming into the country, here's what you say to them. Wrong. There is no Muslim ban. You are correct, sir. So when they tell you there's a Muslim ban, tell them that they are wrong. There you go. They're simply wrong. There you go. And they're being led by people who want to keep this sports model going. Us against them. My guy good, your guy bad. This Mad Magazine spy versus spy model that media is playing. You know what? I'm so glad that John said that because frankly, I had a feeling a long time ago, and I've said on this show and other shows that this is what the deal is. You know what? My neighbor across the street who fashions himself as a progressive, I said to him a couple of years ago, this is all my guy good, your guy bad. Especially when they say and do the same thing. Especially. The guy who's been dropping bombs on Muslim countries for the past 8 years is Barack Obama. Where was the throwing yourselves in the street and blocking traffic and stopping people from traveling liberals and snowflakes when Barack Obama was dropping bombs on people, not just saying, "Oh, you can't come here. Oh, I will just kill you where you are." This is all my guy good, your guy bad, isn't it? And in order to do what we need to do in our communities, we have to rise up. We have to rise above my guy good, your guy bad. Start looking for solutions and start looking at how we fix this mess for real. We'll be right back.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work there too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sackheads Radio. Sackheads Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
From the war front to the streets of our nation's capital, men of faith, Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor, and Kenneth McClinton, the exceptional conservative, bring both constitutional gravitas and spiritual perspective on today's issues to the most influential Christian urban talk show, 9:05 p.m. Eastern, Thursdays. It's a new day on New Day, Black and Red.
This is your business diva, Melanie Collette, inviting you to join me for my new show, Money Talk with Melanie, on January 16th at 10 a.m. on the Exceptional Conservative Network. Joining me will be Dr. Brooks Robinson of blackeconomics.org. We will discuss President-elect Donald Trump's New Deal for Black America. I hope you'll join us.
You're tired of the cold? You're tired of the taxes? It's time to move to Florida. And our friend Gary Knight at New Homes of Tampa Bay is the perfect person to help you. You can just give Gary a call at 813-770-9452, or you can go to the website to look for your brand new home at www.newhomestpa.com. Move to Florida. It's about time. You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Network. For more information, go to www.theexceptionalconservative.com. All right, welcome back to the William Lawson Show here on the Exceptional Conservative Network. We appreciate you being here. No, we did not do Facebook Live today. You know what? We're sucking up as much bandwidth as we can right now. We had Skype rolling, we had Spreaker rolling, we had my pad running, my tablet going, I got my phone going. So the last thing we need to do is do bad Facebook Live. If you like the Facebook Live portion of the William Lawson Show, send me an email. Let me know. Send me an email at WLSTECN@gmail.com. That's WLSTECN@gmail.com, and say, you know what, we want to see more of the Facebook Live portion on the show. We want to have more of the in-studio cam, so to speak, and you know what, and we'll make that happen. Listen, if you like what we do and you want us to continue to do it, we're going to need your help. We need you to go to www.fightbackmedia.com. That's www.fightbackmedia.com. And like my friend Robert Stacey McCain says, hit the frickin' tip jar. There's a donate button that helps us continue to be able to pay the internet bill and the electric bill to do what we do. And we could not do it without your help. We appreciate you. And again, thanks for tuning in today. Thanks to our guest, John Daly, for coming by. Listen, share this show with your friends. We appreciate you. And again, until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody. And for goodness sakes, take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you.